Hi all. We're going to do some PowerShell. PowerShell is Microsoft's new programming thing. Before we get started, I'm going to read a joke here. This is a book I got at the library on the free shelf. First printing was 1934. You can see the pages are really old. So I was going to start it at the beginning and just read them, but I opened it up and this was the first one I came to. It's a military trainer talking to a new fella. It says, do you prefer an English saddle or a Western? Asked the instructor of the new recruit. What's the difference? Inquired the rank amateur. The Western saddle has a horn. Oh well then, give me the English, said the recruit. I don't expect to be riding in heavy traffic. I heard we're supposed to be more entertaining on here, so I thought I'd start with a joke. So. Okay, so here's PowerShell. I have a few things in this text file here. PowerShell is a shell. If we go to the start button, all apps, down to Windows, PowerShell. See, there's 4 items here. The first one is the main one. That's the one we usually want. This one here, these two are the same, but this one, x86, is for older computers, if you need to connect to an older computer. And then here, PowerShell ISC, and then ISC x86. It's the same type of deal here. This is the one you would normally use, and then this is for the older computers. ISC is like a GUI into PowerShell. So if we open this up, this is PowerShell. You can tell it's PowerShell by the PS here. This here is the prompt. Every computer you go on, the prompt might be different. They can make it be anything they want. You can resize this window here to however you like it. You can see when I started that up, it started up into my user account. If you want, you can right click it and go run as administrator. You get the user account control box, and then you can see now it's running. PowerShell is running as the administrator. The way you can tell is that it opens up to the System32 folder. So, you know, what's the difference? You might be trying to get something to work. You know, you're trying to learn something, trying to get it to work. It won't work if you're running it as a normal user, because whatever you're trying to get to work needs administrator rights, privileges. So how you run it, that's totally up to you. I would say for now, run it as your regular user, and then when you have to, pop into the administrator area. But after a few days or a few weeks, until you feel more familiar, I just always run it as an administrator. You just have to be careful, because if you run something wrong, you could break your operating system. So. But that's really a personal preference. I'm going to go ahead and close the user account one here. PowerShell is a shell. This blue box, that's the shell. We execute CommandLets. Running CommandLets is the main thing you do inside PowerShell. And that's mainly what we're going to concentrate on in this video, is how to run a commandlet. And you also run scripts. Scripts are just small text files with code in it. PowerShell programming code. I've read that most people will never have to actually create scripts. You know, you just run scripts that have already been created. But I don't know if that's true. If you're a Windows administrator, if you're going to take somebody else's script and run it on your server or your company's network, you might want to know a little bit about it to where you can pop open that script and understand what's going on inside of it. You know, so I think that was the author's way of just saying, you know, everything you need to do is already been written. You know, Microsoft has already thought of it. You know, so we start up PowerShell. The way you started on your version of Windows might be different. I'm on Windows 10 here. So there's 4 items. This ISE is that's the integrated scripting environment. They just give it a fancy word. It's just a GUI. Let's go ahead and pop that open so you can see it. Windows PowerShell ISE. So you can see it kind of looks the same. The main thing is down this side they have all the commandlets, so you don't have to remember them. You know, like if you're working on this side, you have to think, oh, what was that? How was that commandlet named? You know, I don't remember the name. I know it was something like such and such. You know, here they have them all listed here. We'll do some of that later on. Okay, so here's our first commandlet, git host. Okay, so mainly what I'm looking at here is the version number. Whenever I learn something new, I want to know what version I'm working with. You know, usually there's not much of a difference at the beginner levels with any language that you learn. The main differences are usually in the new stuff that's coming out, the high end of the language. You know. But I think with this version of PowerShell, there's been a lot of changes. From what I can see, it's really come into a full-fledged programming language. So we'll get into that more when we do some scripts. With the PowerShell videos that I plan on doing, I'm going to concentrate on a scripting thing, you know, how to actually write the scripts. First handful though will just be a general PowerShell thing and how to use it on your computer or how to use it to administer a computer. But I want to concentrate on the scripting end. We'll see how that goes. If you're familiar with the DOS prompt, that's this black screen here. The commands that you used here will also work inside PowerShell. So like CLS for clear the screen. I just have a few simple ones here to show you that they still work. Control C, hold Control, hit C. That stops that printout. That's just doing a printout of all the files in the System32 folder. CD to change a folder. CD ... moves back a folder. See, now we're into the Windows folder. If you're not familiar with that stuff, I did a video on how to use the basics of the command prompt. You might want to check that out. Or real simply, these things are just folders. We're on C:, we're in the Windows folder, we're in the System32 folder. If we go to C here, we're in the Windows folder here, and then System32 folder here. Okay, so when we did that list, it was just listing all the files inside here. And then we go cd ... again. Now we're on C:. And see, now mkdir makes a folder. So we'll go mkdir and we'll make a folder called PowerShell. Now if we go back to C, now you'll see that we have a folder here called PowerShell. And I'm just going to drag a shortcut to it down to the desktop here, so I can get to it easy later on. ls just lists the files. If we do ls here, it lists the files on C:. ls is like a list, stands for list. It's an old Unix or Linux type of thing. So you can see here AMD drivers. So some of the commands that you learned in Unix or Linux or in the DOS prompt might work here. Yeah. But if you want to learn PowerShell, you should probably try to get away from those. You know, try to learn the new PowerShell way. You know. But that's a personal preference. Sometimes my experience is the new PowerShell way is a lot more typing, and where you could just type CLS and it clears the screen. You can use the arrow keys for the history. We'll do this more stuff later on when we do some of the commandlets. And piping is a big deal inside PowerShell. I have a few examples that show you how to use a pipe. The network commands also work. They aren't PowerShell commands, right? They're just general commands. One that's cool is ping. So you can ping a computer. .127.0.0.1, that's your computer. So if your internet's not working, first thing you should do is ping yourself to see if you're working before you start checking other things. If you get any type of reply here, then you know it's working. You can also ping websites. We'll ping Microsoft. So that's actually going to the Microsoft server and coming back, so you can see how fast that is. Yeah. I was really surprised to see that this worked. back around 2000, there's a big problem with hackers pinging a lot of company websites, and it was bringing them down. It was way too much traffic on their website, so most companies had turned that stuff off. So for some reason, I'm pretty sure it was off for a while. So for some reason, they've got it back up now. FTP works. We could have a whole video on just how to use FTP. I have another video out there on how to use WSFTP. That's this guy here, and that's how you would normally use FTP now. It's through this GUI. But it's still nice to know the old-fashioned way in case you ever have to use it. At least have a general idea. But most likely you'll never need it here. I was surprised to see it was installed. So inside PowerShell, running a commandlet is the main thing. It's spelled CMDLET, but it's pronounced CommandLet. And they're all in the form verb noun, like get date. Get is the verb now, and date is the noun. So this here is another commandlet. It's a real simple one, just to get your feet wet with these things. Get date shows us the date. PowerShell is not case sensitive, but something that you can do is like type get date and then hit the tab key, and it makes it uppercase. So that's kind of odd. That's the first time I've seen something like that. There's also something called tab completion. So like if I type get date and I press the tab key here, it tries to guess at what I'm trying to type. You can see it didn't do that good of a job there. If I go DAT and hit tab, okay, there it got it. By pressing the tab key, it completed the date. My experience is it doesn't really work all that great inside PowerShell, but it might save a few steps. It might save some typing. But I just wanted to make you aware that that does exist inside PowerShell. Okay, so here's an example on how to use tab completion here. I'll go get -H and hit tab, and I'm trying to get get host, right? And it came up with get help, so I'll go get host, and then it finally found it, get host. So running commandlets is the main thing. What you can do is run this command here called get commands, and it shows all the commandlets that you can run. You can see here on the side it says these are the commandlets. Here at the top there's functions. It's just other things that you can run. And then here's some aliases. see, when I first got into this, I think version 1 of PowerShell had like a little over 100. Now there's about 1,000. What you can do is, I found this small little thing here that you can run to see how many commandlets are on your system. Don't worry so much about the code, but this is just to get a list of the numbers. So you can see on my computer there's 1,300. So there's 1,300 in this list here. So just to run through this real quick, and don't worry so much about the code here, I just wanted to show you this number here, 1,300. So we ran the git commandlet and put the contents inside A. And then on A, we counted up the items inside A and displayed them here. So they're all not commandlets. You know, some are functions, some are the aliases. So. What you can do is save this commandlet list to a text file. Okay, so here we'll run git command. This angle bracket means save the results to this text file. Okay, that text file is named my commandlet list.txt. It's just a notepad file. Goes into C:, into the PowerShell folder. So we'll hit the enter key. So if we go to that folder now we have a text file here with that list. You know, in case you're curious, don't try to learn them all. Some of them you'll probably never need, but I just thought you might be curious as to say, hey, okay, well, what's actually out there? The commandlets are based on a verb-noun form, right? Verb-noun. Verb-noun. So I went out, I was curious, what are the verbs? And there's a lot more than I thought. So these are the verbs. You can add stuff, you can checkpoint stuff, you can clear stuff, you can compare stuff. So this list is actually pretty big. Okay, something that's nice to do is, let's say you want to run one of those network commands. Here, use git command and match NET. And the star means match anything after it. Okay, so here I'll run it, then it'll make more sense. So it went out, it found all the commandlets that started with NET and anything after it. So the star just matches any text after it. Also, to go along with that git command, there's a git alias. and it gets all of the aliases. What I'm not sure of is, like on our Git command list, there's a few aliases here at the top. And then when we do a Git alias here, there's a lot more. So there's something going on there. That's something we'll have to research. And same there, we can run a command to put those inside of a file, in case you're curious. Say run git alias. The angle brackets puts the results of git alias into a text file. And we're going to put that text file inside C:PowerShell folder and create this text file here, my alias list. So now if we go back to that folder, we have a list with our aliases. And you can see here, like the CD that we ran earlier, it's just an alias to another commandlet called set location. CLS is just an alias to a commandlet called clear host. My recommendation is to not worry about the aliases so much for now. You know, learn the commandlets, you know, at least get familiar with them a little bit, and then ones that you really use a lot, then learn the alias. But that's a personal preference. I wouldn't try to memorize all these things, but just kind of read through it so you're aware of what's out there. Set location is a commandlet that does the same thing as CD. So we can go set location to C:, we can go set location to our PowerShell folder. Now we're inside the PowerShell folder. You can go set location to PS folder. Set location to C:. So that would be one that would be a lot faster just to use the CD command, you know, instead of typing out set location. So, personal preference though. Get child item is the same thing as a dir or a list. Get child items, you know, what's inside the folder. The items inside the folder are the child. So these are the items in C:. If we go to our PowerShell folder, go to get child item. So here's those two text files in our PowerShell folder. That's these two guys here. Clear host is the same as CLS. Okay, and I think we'll go ahead and stop there, and the next video will start up here. Okay, see ya. Bye.